Anmol, how are you?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right. So, Anmol, first of all, thanks for joining us. And we are organizing this set of, interviews with our Tezos India Fellowship participants uh, who were joined in our 2021 cohort. Now, what we want to know about is, what are you guys doing right now? What did fellowship brought to you? What opportunities did it bring to you? And, what are you doing in your life right now? And how are you involved in the Theos ecosystem? So we are going to be talking about a bunch of different things, and I'm going to be asking you, multiple questions regarding your experience in Theos development. So let's start with just a brief introduction of yourself. So please feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Anmol. I'm a third year student pursuing computer science at Benedict University. So I've been part of the Tezos ecosystem for almost a year. I worked on the fellowship, and before that, I was the part of the Tezos India hackathon, Tez India Hadappa hackathon. So a lot of things I have developed over the past year, like starting from Hadappa Hackathon. So I was working for a supply chain financial solution. So where we could have consumers and as well as providers on board on the ecosystem. They would be creating a graph network for making the whole supply chain transparent and getting to know about the financial transaction among all the suppliers. So one could get to know how much debt each supplier has, and they could optimize their supply chain. So after
That's
that, okay. So
yeah.
after that, I think the fellowship was announced in the month of July. So I received the mail regarding from the foundation as well as from DevFolio. So so I applied for it, and then during the fellowship, I think I was brainstorming certain ideas, and I think the derivatives was the area where I stuck my mind. Like I think it's one of the areas where I we could develop a lot of things, and it's an upcoming field.
That's great. That's
The
great.
reason for derivatives being so much powerful is that, like, if you buy a stock for 1,000 rupees, you get 1,000 rupees. But with derivatives, you can have that same power by purchasing a put or a call option, and they were paying a upfront premium that is like 10, 100 rupees or 150. So you have the same exposure to the market, but the amount of payment you owe is very less. That's why the traditional derivative industry is the biggest one, and even in DeFi, it's gonna be a huge. We have seen Aave lending platforms, exchanges, but now this year I believe the derivatives is gonna be the next big thing. So we worked on the derivatives for the fellowship. Om Sir was my mentor. So we worked on a pool-based mechanism, like similar to Hedgehog, and so those were cash settled options. Like you buy options in stable coin, you pay the whole transaction goes in stable coins. So we assumed a hypothetical token which is pegged to $1,
That's great.
and we
Yeah.
worked on
So
it.
let me come to a different question now. Right. Let's dive deeper into your project in next question. But first I want to ask you is how did you get to know about a fellowship? Okay, I think you already told me that you got a mail. But what was something that intrigued you about the fellowship? Why did you apply for the fellowship in the first place? And second question is when you did apply, what made you kept going? Right? I think what did you? How did you find that ecosystem or the learning curve of building income of Tezos? How did you go about that?
So like, yeah, so I received a mail from Development Foundation and Fellowship. So the basic what I wanted to do was transform my ideas into a reality. Like I had something picture in my mind that I wanted to develop on Tezos, but with the fellowship, I received the proper mentorship, guidance, and I interacted with a lot of people who told me about the ecosystem. So I worked with them, and I came up with a proper solution at the end of the fellowship. So regarding the learning curve, yeah, moving from Ethereum to Tezos is quite a bit tricky because the architecture is different. You're moving from proof of work to liquid proof of stake, and that is very good. Like you could get a lot of features like You would have smart contract delegation. That is one of the cool things. I think we could develop a lot of solutions. And the community is great. Like I had interaction with Breaking Bad people, and then even the foundation articles were great, like the smart contract calling, ORO setup. Those things helped me a lot to overcome the learning curve.
That's great. That's great to know, Anmol. So tell me a little bit about, how was fellowship like? I think it was very intense, 8 to 10 weeks. But how was the journey overall? Was it too time consuming, or you had to work really hard, or was it easy flow? Was it hard flow? Did you face a lot of issues, or how was it for you?
So yeah, the journey is every journey. Like if you want to go for something big, I would say journey is gonna be tough. Yeah, similarly, the fellowship was a little bit tough because it was a new ecosystem, a new idea. Because derivatives is not something I had worked previously on, so you got to learn a lot. But at the end of the day, you get to know more tons of things, and the opportunities go wide open after that. So yeah, initially it's tough, but with passage of time and the help you get from the community, things get pretty easy, and you can easily do that. Like spend 40 to 50 hours per week, and you can have your fellowship project ready by the end of 8 weeks.
That's great. Uh, Now tell me about, what opportunities did Tezos India Fellowship bring to you, right?
So
You were building a project on top of Tezos during the fellowship, but after the fellowship, how things look like for you now?
so after the fellowship, Om sir and I discussed a lot of things regarding the project. So Om sir hired me for the test share company. So we are working since December on making the project much more compatible with the real world scenarios. So during the time when we were working on the project, so there were a lot of issues with the gas fees and optimization, and it was a system was in between order book and AMMs, but now we are shifting to entirely AMM based solution. So the fellowship was a bridge between me and to get a real time job, I would say. So
That's
the
great.
fellowship helped me get a good job and get to know about the ecosystem. Like you get to know how the things work in an industry. You're a college grad, you have your own ways, but when you do a fellowship, you get to know how the industry works and what practices can help you make the software better and fast.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting insight, Anmol, because that's also what we want for all the fellows who, get selected into fellowship, that either they end up doing their own project, or they end up being part of any Tezos
Hmm.
ecosystem team or Tezos ecosystem itself. Because what we want all of you fellowship is, keep building on top of Tezos, keep improving Tezos ecosystem, keep improving tooling, keep giving feedback, keep getting feedback, and in the process you keep improving yourself, and you keep growing as an individual and as a professional. So that's very great to hear. So my next question for you, Anmol, is if you had to give any tips to new fellows or the new developers who wants to get into the ecosystem, what are some tips you would want to give them?
Like the ecosystem has grown a lot during the past 6 months. Like even we like on Ethereum we have crypto zombies. So a similar replica we have now on Tezos. We can develop learn SmartPy using crypto code school. Like you can have develop FA 1.2 tokens, FA2 that are NFTs. Those kind of things have really helped, and I would suggest developers who want to move shift to Tezos go for the course. It's free, and you would get an NFT by the end of the course after completion. And the community is great. Like if you ask a certain question, whether it is regarding front end interaction with the blockchain or something regarding errors in smart contracts, everyone is very helpful, I would say.
That's great. That's great to hear, Shiva. So one thing, again, we keep hearing is community is great, and we can't agree more. That is, also what I felt when I joined the ecosystem initially. and everybody who I meet or who I interact with in Tezos ecosystem, we all share the same opinion that the people and all the teams and community in Tezos is really great, and they are always there to help you. Amazing. So Shubham, now tell me that if you were to give some hack ideas, or let's say, there are gonna be some students, some new developers entering into the Theos ecosystem. So, and they will be looking for some hack ideas to build in hackathons or maybe in fellowship. What are some of the good ideas that you wanna give to them? Or maybe you don't have enough time to build them yourself. Just feel free to drop some ideas here.
So right now the NFT market is booming, and
Mhm.
similarly on Tezos we got a lot of developers working on NFT, like Kala Mint is there, and then Open Minter, so DZ Colors. So people could develop NFTs, and even the carbon footprint is very less in comparison to Ethereum. So if you want to go for DeFi, there are tons of things that you could do. Like you could have an AMM similar to Curve or Balancer, because we have a lot of stable coins up and running. Like we have Colibri, USD Tez. So you could have a AMM which swaps USD Tez to Colibri, uh, similar to Curve Finance. And then lending platforms are there, derivatives I've been working on. Similarly, someone could have a different approach for making a futures contract or perp finance, something like that. Or even like if you want to go for something off chain, I would say like develop an aggregator. So we have two liquidity pools on mainnet, that is Dexter and QuickSwap. So someone could develop an off chain aggregator. You could have, if the user wants to get the most optimized price, he could use that aggregator for certain amount of funds from Dexter and some from the QuickSwap. So it's like a one-edge solution off chain.
That's great. That's good. These are some really cool ideas to unmold. I think people who are listening to this, feel free to pick any ideas, build something cool out of it. So that was most of our question. So anything, Shubham, if you wanna share, share in general about your experience in Tezos, your experience in fellowship, or anything you wanna share with the students or the developers who are gonna be watching this. What is something that you wanna tell them?
So yeah, so the community is great. You meet a lot of people, and they're really helpful. So even I had an interaction with Arthur regarding the derivatives. So those can definitely motivate you to work further. Like you have the ecosystem friendly, you work with people around the globe, and yeah, you could have a lot of tons of ideas. So even in fact with staking, you could develop a pool together, something like that, or a new type of idea. Because you have the picture of Ethereum and you have Tezos, you could see the image of Ethereum projects. You could make a much better image out of it, and
That's
obviously the gas fees are very less, so that's a
Mhm.
benefit for users.
That's amazing. So amazing. This was very good interview, Anmol, and we really wish you best of luck for your future. And really look forward to see what you build and your project that you talked about, how it turns out to be. And meanwhile, if you have any tips or tricks or any hack ideas, feel free to send them out to us, Theos India, and we'll make sure we uh, give them to other people who
Developers.
apply in hackathons and in Theos India Fellowship. That's very great. Again, thanks a lot, Anmol, for joining us, and we wish you all the best. And thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye. Have a nice day. Ugh.